Okay, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, and whichever part of this world you're listening to us from. Pula Vinaka, and hello, and welcome to those joining our feed as I intend to share my feed around in the various places. अगर आप सुन रहे हैं, so you could also share it amongst your family and friends. Today we've got a very interesting topic, and we've got two wonderful gentlemen joining in me today, and it's a wonderful topic today. And usually, you don't get to hear topics like this, but if you're watching this feed for the first time, please do subscribe to our channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, do subscribe our YouTube channel. If you're watching us here, do follow our page so that we can bring you some lovely programs like this. And we'll be also taking some questions amongst those who are here today, who would be joining, who's got time to join us. If you're watching us post-recorded, that's fine also. It's quite acceptable. And today is a wonderful topic, diabetes in today's society. Primarily we're talking about Fiji, and as you know, in Fiji there's quite a number of people do have diabetes, so it's very important for us to counteract that and to encourage and acknowledge those who actually go through this situation in Fiji especially. And today I've got two wonderful personalities. One is Mr. Jay Narayan, Dr. Jay Narayan, who lives in USA. And the other one is Ashok Muni, who lives also in USA. And they are both professionals in their field. We'll talk a little bit and say hello to them, and then we'll talk about the credentials, and we'll proceed with that. With further ado, please welcome and join our feed, and thank you for joining our feed, those who are actually joining our feed. But let's welcome the two gentlemen. Hello, sir. Welcome to the program. How are you all?
Great to be here, Param.
Great to be here. Thank you for joining in into today's feed. And it's a wonderful topic, and a topic that we should always be talking about, and it's about diabetes in Fiji. Now, not taking much of your time, and I'd like to reiterate as always by asking, tell us a little bit about yourself, your credentials. We'll start with Dr. Jay Narayan. A little bit about yourself, so those people who are watching this feed are a little bit aware as to where the background is coming today, and then we'll move over to Ashok Muni as well. So, Uncle Jay Narayan, ball is in your court. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Param, for having us with this program. I retired from Seton Medical Center here in California, Daly City, in 2007, and I was a director of diagnostic departments, clinical laboratory, pathology, nuclear medicine, radiation oncology, and radiology. And I left Fiji in 1957 without any high school education. I was a farmer back home. However, when I arrived, it was a challenge, but I did all right. I'm married with two daughters, one lawyer, one vice president for FILA, and I have three granddaughters. The
Nice.
older granddaughter is at Johns Hopkins, second-year resident. And we're looking forward to second granddaughter getting married in December 11. So my wife and I, we've been married for 60 plus years. Delighted to be on this program. And of course,
60
I've
plus.
known Ashok
Wow.
quite a while.
Congratulations. And
you.
welcome to this feed and forum. And I hope from the last time that we left you guys on, you guys both enjoyed this little conversation and information session that we had. And quite a number of people enjoyed it as well. And welcome to you as well, Ashok Muni. Uncle, how are you? Welcome to this program.
Good evening from a beautiful California evening. And I'm Ashok Muni, and I've last 20 years of my working life, I spent working for a hospital clinical lab and a reference lab where I did problem resolutions. And in doing that, I got really interested in the subjects and particularly of NCDs. And I was trained by the Clinica de la Raza here in Oakley as as a diabetic care person as well as a diabetic educator. And I've been a diabetic myself for last 35 years and have quite a few scars to show for those things. And as a matter of fact, one of them I'm
Is it
dealing with
silver
right
star or
now.
gold star there, Ashok?
Well, I did have an interesting episode with uh, acidosis, and that was an eye opener. And long term use of metformin was thrown out of the window, and it was replaced by insulin. So
Okay.
that was my thing. And then right now, after being diabetic so long, I've had my kidneys affected. So I'm dealing with that right now.
Well, we hope you can counteract it with with your information, your background in diabetes, and your background in NCD. And we are on sitting on what we really need to talk about, because both of you gentlemen are going through that. One is Jay Narayan, Dr. Jay Narayan is an experience. You also type 2 diabetes there, Jay, uncle?
Yes, type 2 diabetes, and
Yes.
I did self-diagnosis that I made from the urine sample,
Mm-hmm.
and it's up to 1,000 milligrams in the sample, and of course, I immediately went to see the doctor, and sure enough, I was 35 years old when I was
Wow.
diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and
A lot of
I'm
people
dealing
do
with
get
it.
diagnosed at mid 30s, especially
Actually,
those who are from Fiji.
yeah, one of the recommendations is being made by ADA, American Diabetic Association, is that 45 and over people should be tested, and I'll
Okay.
go a little bit into that.
Okay, so let's get into the program, and we'll start with what is diabetes and the types of diabetes. And Uncle Jay Narayan is going to highlight us on that. So the ball is on your court, and I believe you've prepared some information on that. Tons of information, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're watching this live, if you've got any questions, you're welcome to ask. And I can see your comments on the screen as they will appear. So go ahead, Jay.
Okay, okay. To start with, the first question would be, so what is diabetes?
Mm-hmm.
What makes us have diabetes? And it's sugar in the body, sugar in the body, and when we say diabetes, most of the time is called diabetes mellitus. And what happens is that it's a metabolic disease. And what does that mean? That means that the sugar that we need for energy doesn't get into the cell. And so, for a normal patient, the hormone that is responsible for pushing the sugar into the cell for metabolism
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. It's either stored or it doesn't get into to produce the energy. And so that basically is diabetes, and there are different types of diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And the types are like type 1 diabetes. What is the difference between type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, sometimes called TID, T1D or T2D? So T1D is there is no insulin production in the pancreas gland. And about 10% of the population experience this kind of situation. And it is known also as autoimmune disease. A lot of people believe that this type of diabetes happens during birth, but we know now that it's not the case, although majority is experience
Born.
that. And then that type 2 diabetes is when the body becomes resistant to insulin, simply meaning even though you're producing insulin, but it's not being used. So sugar builds up in your bloodstream, and as the sugar rises, is called diabetes. And then you have a pre-diabetes, and pre-diabetes simply the normal range when you test for diabetes is from 70 to 99 milligram per deciliter. So even in when someone has pre-diabetes, even 1 unit above is considered pre-diabetic. And the recommendation is that you need to check uh, every year or as often as possible. Then the third type is gestational diabetes. Gestational diabetes is happens when a woman is ready to have a
Have a
baby.
baby, pregnant, yeah.
Yeah, and high blood sugar during pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and there are actually others, and I won't go into them because 2% of the population has those other kind of diabetes, but these are the most common types.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving ahead, uh, how do we screen for diabetes? The American Diabetic Association has suggested that people with body mass index. So, what is body mass index? It's your height type, your weight, and it comes up with a number. And 25 is a cutoff. So, anybody with above 25
Mm-hmm. Is
needs
obese.
to have
Mm.
needs to have, and this is regardless of age, to check for diabetes. And I'll go a little bit to tell you exactly what is the check.
Mm-hmm.
You also have abnormal cholesterol levels. And at the end, I will talk a little bit about the different types of
Mm-hmm.
fat into our bloodstream. Um, the first anyone older than 45. So the first one is the body mass index. The second one is anyone over 45 should be checked for
Sugar.
diabetes,
Fasting sugar
and,
level.
at least every 3 years. Women who have gestational diabetes to be screened for diabetes every 3 years.
Okay.
Anyone with pre-diabetes is advised to be tested every year.
Mm-hmm.
Again, remember the cutoff. Normal range is 70 to 100. One or two above is pre-diabetic. A lot of people ignore that, and it's not a
Mm-hmm.
good thing. So, the overall test is what we call glycated hemoglobin, or A1C.
Mm-hmm.
And this test does not require fasting, and result is for past 2 to 3 months. And I just recently, being a diabetic myself, it's a good
Mm-hmm.
way for me to monitor as to how I am taking care of myself. So the A1C is very important, and it sort of goes along with the red cell survival rate. Red cell survival is about 120
Mm.
20 days, which is about 2 to 3 months, and
Mm-hmm.
so you do it measures that. Although people can do a finger stick, and I do that once a week. Although many patients are told to do it like 3 times a day, and so. Um, Going back to the A1C, what are the cutoff? Meaning, level 6.5 or higher indicates having diabetes. 6.5%. Between 5.7% and 6.4% indicates pre-diabetes,
Pre-diabetic, yes.
and below 5.7 is normal.
Normal.
And here's a situation where, depending on the type of doctor you see, for example, if you see an endocrinologist
Mm-hmm.
or diabetologist that specializes in this, they would like you to be around five,
Mm-hmm.
5 to 7, where the
Yeah.
primary care doctors are okay with 7 or
Mm-hmm.
7.5.
Now I've got a
Having said
question.
that,
I've got a question on that. I was actually thinking about today to both of you gentlemen. You know how this, as you said, below 5.7 is normal, and above below 5.7 to 6.5 is pre-diabetic, as you were just mentioning, and above 11.5 is diabetic. Now my question is, since everybody belongs to a different nationality, different diet, different structure, different locality, now my biggest thought is the normal ranges. Okay, the normal range is obviously derived from somewhere. So the everybody is actually utilizing the World Health Organization format, which is as you said, 5.7 and below is normal. So what do you gentlemen have to say? Because us Indians have a different diet compared to our Caucasians. Now, don't you think, or should you think we would have a normal range for us Indians?
I think I personally think that that's an excellent question.
Mm-hmm.
And you would notice that normal range is basically for any test in the clinical laboratory, or even in
Yes,
pathology when you do cytology studies. But clinical laboratory in particular,
most of them are in
uh,
US anyway.
well, yeah, but race, there is some differentiation between in some areas of testing. For
Mm-hmm.
example, Ashok mentioned a little bit about having kidney issues,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a cutoff for what we call GFR, glomerular
Mm-hmm.
filtration rate,
Mm-hmm.
for the black folks versus the white folks.
Okay.
But 60 and over is considered okay, and below is not. So there are some areas, but most of the time the normal range is for either male or female or everybody. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you go for your annual physical, they do what they call Chem 14 or metabolic testing. And in
Mm-hmm.
metabolic testing, the normal range is for everybody. You look at
Mm-hmm.
CBC, complete blood count, is normal
Mm-hmm.
range for everybody. There are so many red cells, so many white cells, etc., etc. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can monitor yourself, and
Mm.
you
But
without
the
going.
machines and the chemicals are
Mm.
standardized for the general
Yeah.
American population. If you know what I mean.
I, yeah. It is interesting
Yes.
that people whose origins
Mm-hmm.
are central India
Yes.
have the highest rate of diabetes incidence.
Because if you
Now,
compare the
why is that?
Indians to the
We
Caucasian,
don't know.
European, yes.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you something about it. A young doctor that I worked with, and she's a PhD in her in medicine, and she did her research on this, and she was born in India.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, we have not been able to identify or tell you why. And that's what she was trying to find out.
Mm.
Because so far, there is no reason, no cause of diabetes that has been officially recognized that this is the reason why we get diabetes or become diabetic. So he says there's no one cause. It could be a mixture of things, diet, lifestyle, and all those things. And I think what Uncle was talking about the diet, and especially us of Indian origins, and no matter where we live, we have this thing. Now, metabolic comes in play. I don't know exactly whether metabolic reacts ethnically. I don't know whether there's anything ethnic about it, But it is important to keep in mind that my great grandfather had a lifestyle which my father followed, which I followed, and our diet and our lifestyles were the same. And so the results were definitely going to be the same.
Yes,
Yes.
obviously. If
And a
if
lot
you
of
if you
times,
belong to that same group, yeah.
yes, it has been diabetes has been declared a lifestyle disease.
Mm.
Really, I mean, it has the immune issues there, where our beta cells are not able to produce enough insulin to
Yes.
neutralize the excess going into the bloodstream.
Yes.
Okay, but the most important thing to remember, since we don't know the cause,
Mm.
all we can do is control.
True.
And
Well,
we control it through medication, insulin, and our diet and our lifestyle. These are the points that will help us to control this wonderful disease that is devastating the whole world.
Yes. Yes.
yeah, but Ashok, one of the things that we should remember is, like I said, type one, type two, and other type of diabetes. It is based upon the cause. I mean, in one case, there's no insulin. Why is it? Well, it's inherited disease, genetically inherited, right?
Yes.
Type 1 is because there is no insulin, period. Well,
There
type
is no
2,
cure. There is no
well,
cure for this yet.
no, I agree. There is no cure, but you can manage it. In other words,
Yeah,
you can have
agree.
insulin dependent. They are insulin dependent, and it depends on exactly about how much exercise you get, how much weight you carry, what kind of food you eat. It does make a difference. It's
Yes.
manageable.
True. True.
Well, the type 2 diabetes, we know exactly what happens. The sugar just keeps going up. I actually am on metformin. A lot of people, and actually two specific, amlodipine or Amaryl and metformin. I take it every day. And I've been trying something recently because my blood sugar level in the morning when I measure it is around 135, 140, and that's not acceptable. And the reason is I start to see a kidney guy, and he did something wonderful for me in terms of blood pressure management. But for diabetes, he said, don't take the 1500 milligrams per day, you take 1000. Well, I did that, and because of that, it spiked up to that 130, 140. When I take 15, I can pretty much control between 70 and 99. So, and because I am familiar with these things, I can do little experiment. Uh,
Now,
True,
gentlemen, let's.
and I've been living with that myself, and I will tell you that through diet itself, and I have proven that to myself and proven to many other people, that just by diet I was able to control my diabetes. And while I was in Fiji, uh, I I did a lot of this. I was alone, so I had to cook myself, and all those things made it very easy for me. Uh, but the fact is that I was active and I was controlling my diet, and I did not take metformin nor insulin for that period of time. So it can be done. I mean, I did it, and I don't think I'm anything exceptional. So if we all put our mind to it, we know what was going to make our diabetes worse. Then we cut off. We don't take sugar at all. We don't take starch. We don't take foods that will break down into sugars. And if we cut those out and so just go with the fresh green vegetables and fruits and all those wonderful things. And it's very cheap.
Now, it's a
It's
very.
much cheaper.
I'll ask a very important question on that note over there about food. When it's we were talking about food. Now, many of us have a sedentary lifestyle in these
Yeah,
days and era.
big
A lot
time.
of people are, working in offices, and the industry has changed. The manufacturing industry has shifted abroad. Especially a country like Fiji, there's hardly any manufacturing. Is hardly people are actually working, and in America, it's also the similar thing. Now, the most important thing is how much energy are you taking in your daily lifestyle. You have to eat breakfast, lunch, mid-morning, snack, dinner. But is it necessary? The biggest thing, I think, is it necessary to eat food when you don't need to eat food? Why do we have breakfast? Why do we have lunch? And why do we have dinner?
Okay.
Dinner,
If
I
you are
personally think the days of
okay,
dinner is, 50, 60 years ago, when the forefathers used to work in the farm and, late hours in the evening, and they used to come and eat food, after working in the farm, and then they used to go back and do something else. Do we do the same thing now? And the
yeah,
portions of the dinner is nice, because if you look at, let's move to the diet in Fiji, okay, where primarily 30% of the country is suffering from diabetes. And if you pick up one in every 3% or 4% will have sugar problem.
true.
And sugar is a lame term of saying ki, you've got high sugar. But the thing is, do we need to eat those food? The
No,
question is, yes, we need to eat good food, but how many times should we eat? Are we required to eat dinner? Are we required to have lunch at a certain time?
You
well,
you mentioned about food, and I happened to, while waiting, looked up as foods that produce high energy.
Mm.
And the very first thing that came up is banana.
Yes.
How as soon as you say, very high energy, banana has very high fatty fruit, brown rice, sweet potato,
Yeah, they
coffee.
basically have 85 and above, GI or 85 and above. So those who are watching this program, if you say GI is a terminology, Ashok,
glycemic
and Bhav, it's a glycemic index, it's called. It's the
index. Yeah.
rate that your body absorbs sugar. And if it's below 50, it's which means it's a slow release.
You
So,
know,
Yeah,
think about the food that we eat, whether it
yes.
was in Fiji or here. The starch becomes the biggest part of our plate.
Hmm. Of course,
And
carbohydrates.
while I was creating awareness on diabetes and NCDs in Fiji
Mm.
through our labs, Smart Labs Fiji, I was suggesting, for
Hmm.
example, if you're going to be having 4 pieces of dalo
Mm.
in Roro, so take 1 piece of dalo and replace the 3 pieces of dalo with one bundi, green bundi, which is a
What's
banana.
bundi?
You know,
Oh, what's bundi?
yeah, and with the people that I worked with, it worked. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So
I
it's
actually,
if we all just think of having food to live, and we don't live to just eat, we'll be fine. Unfortunately, we are
Mm-hmm.
spoiled by our taste. We are spoiled by the marketing forces that are directing us towards and attracting us towards fast foods,
Mm-hmm.
processed foods, convenience foods. And these are the worst things for our health. And yet,
Mm-hmm.
nothing can be done unless industry, government, and the health authorities all combine and use one plan to combat it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is almost impossible because the commercial interests always will be beating out the health interest
Mm-hmm.
because of the profit path. See?
Well, in Fiji, I mean, let's go back to Fiji, where primarily we're talking about high number of diabetes to majority of the Indians and Fijians because of the diet. Now, diet is one thing. Second, there is exercise, and education is very important as well. And the climatic condition plays a lot of part. It's humid and people need to drink, and obviously when you go to somebody's place, you get offered a cordial or a soft drink which is tons of sugar in it. So it's a lifestyle of an individual country, I believe, and an American diet which is high in fat and high in carbohydrates as well, because of the fast food companies being started over there and then exploited around the world. So the Americans have a very high rate of diabetes as well compared to the rest. And I think India is probably the second part, where it's an Indian. In India, sweet is sweet. So sweet is sweet. Basically, sweet is sweet. So I think the main question, let's start about it, is to why we get diabetes. Okay, as we all noted, you pointed out that anybody over the age of 35 should get checked for diabetes or fasting sugar. Now, let's say and ask a question: why do we get diabetes? Let's get to the point of it.
Well, the only thing that we know about diabetes is that the insulin is not being produced in the amount needed to balance the flow of glucose into the bloodstream. That's all we really know. And as to what can be done about it is only one thing: control. Since we don't know exactly what is causing diabetes. Now, health, our lifestyle and our diet.
We are talking about type 2 diabetes now.
Yeah, type 2
Yes.
is the general one, and that is true. And if we are able to combat this, the only thing that is working is an adjustment in our diet and our lifestyle. Today, if you see Fiji or you see America or Australia or New Zealand, we all drive cars. We don't walk anymore. And we don't walk in the farms. We walk in an office where we sit. It's sedentary lifestyle. We eat fast food because it's the quickest thing to grab for lunch.
But if you look back to Fiji, and our lifestyle, people's lifestyle is very different over there. And why do people get diabetes in Fiji? As you yourself would know, because you spent a lot of time over there. Why? To you a question, Ashok ji. Why do people get diabetes in Fiji?
Too much carbohydrate.
Again, it is just food and the sedentary lifestyle. We are not burning it up.
Well, the kids play soccer, the young kids play soccer, and the middle age are having grog every afternoon.
That's right.
Some still play soccer till the age of 35, 40, but I think that's dying out because the grounds are getting smaller and nobody's utilizing it.
And soggy.
Yes.
I mean, we can find 1,000 reasons why we are not active. And most of it is actually excuses. If we really want to be active, we can be, because there's always footpaths and we can walk on them.
You know, my comment would be the food, the type of food people eat in Fiji produces carbohydrate, as you mentioned, that dalosing and taro and cassava and what have you, very high carbohydrate and therefore high sugar. But I think the important thing is the treatment approach and trying to work with patients about telling them that diabetes is a lifetime condition. It's not going to go away after the doctor gives you the necessary medication where you started to feel better and you drop taking it. I can, and Ashok will agree, I think, that I have been on medication for last 25 years. And I have to constantly take the medication because a disease is not going to go away. And so I think that's important. The education piece is important for people in Fiji to say, look, you have to take metformin or whatever that medication is there. It's a lifetime thing.
But before we start getting into the tablets and metformins and the medications that comes to the doctor, I think the housekeeping starts from within the house.
Well, yes,
I mean,
it
we
does.
have to do a bit of a housekeeping as to what we're eating. And while the subject is what we're eating in a normal staple diet of an Indian or Fijian, in the morning is what?
Roti.
So, yes, of course. And roti is a very... Which part does the roti fall into here, sir?
Okay. Now, depending on what flour you're going to use. If
Obviously,
you are
in the
going
morning,
to
no
make
one's
a
going to eat
flour with
tomatoes.
white flour, a normal
Yes.
flour, it will be very high in starch and it's going to
Yes.
break down to sugars. And with my particular levels of sugar in my body, if I had one white roti, it would add 15 points to my sugar level. 15
15
points.
points.
Imagine that. Okay.
Meaning, for example, if it is 60, it'll go to 75.
Yes. So if I don't take that one roti, my sugar will not be up that much. And the pictures that you have up there now, the complex carbs and the simple carbs, now this is a very interesting one because people, when we think about carbs, we think of the ones which is the simple ones. We don't
Yep.
think of tomatoes as a carb. We don't think of the carrots as carbs or sweet potatoes as carbs. We only think of bread and cookies and things like that are made out of flour. That is the only carbs. And that's not true, as this one will show. So even if we do not take any of those simple carbs, and simple carbs are those that very quickly dissolves and goes into our system. The complex carbs have to go through our digestive system to slowly release its nutrients into the system. And that complex carbs are the best ones to have.
We haven't got soft drinks here and some simple carbs. We haven't covered for all the other fruit juices and all the fruits which are simple sugars and full of sucrose, Uncle Jay. And
Yes,
if you see, we can see roti and bread and chapati and pancakes and cookies. But if you look at the diet of an average Indian in Fiji, 2 roti
Yes.
and a dalo or kasera.
Yes.
So-
And it is,
breadfruit.
roti
Don't
and
forget.
potato curry.
Yes, and
Both
on
are
top
starch.
and to top that, at the moment for the last 5 years, primarily I would say 5 years, hitting strongly, the new coffee shops have opened in Fiji. The youngsters have coffee in their hand. Now that's a new introduction into the country. It's a lifestyle change. Coffee is nice. A cup of coffee which has got milk contains about 15 grams of sugar.
Exactly.
So, gentlemen, what do you have to say about that in Fiji with the new cafes opening? Guys who are going to work are now having coffee.
It is a wonderful scene in Fiji. You see particularly the university students and the
Yes.
young crowd who want to be the yuppie crowd.
Yeah.
And they've got their flip-flops and their t-shirts and their computers, hanging from their neck. And
It's a lifestyle.
coffee.
It's a lifestyle. It's
And
a lifestyle.
coffee, yes. And then, of course, they also go to the myriads of Chinese restaurants where you get a plate full of
Rice.
chips.
Fried rice.
It tastes wonderful. But that's where the problem is. That one piece of a very bad meat full of fats and things that you really don't need, and then a whole plate of potato chips with that. And that is the diet. That is what people love. What can I say?
But my question is, or making awareness is basically with the people already have the genes and already they have a diet and they have now saturating themselves more with the new lifestyle, which is coffee and cake. And that's introduction of new sugar or more sugar, and your lifestyle hasn't changed. Your activities, your energy activities hasn't changed. So the energy input has increased, but the energy output has not increased.
Absolutely not.
So in a simple term, the energy in and energy out is imbalanced. And of course, when there's an excess of energy, which is then once again, if it gets through the process, then there's an excess of energy and there's an excess of weight, and thus leads to complications, which is really bad. And one of the complications is diabetes.
We missed a very important one.
Yes.
Cell phone.
It's very nice. Everybody has it this way.
You see in Fiji, everyone is sitting in McDonald's or at Tapu City food court with a phone,
Yes.
with a cell phone. And I've noticed them, they're there for 2 hours and 3 hours, and they don't even talk to each other. They're all on the phone.
We all part of the game. We're all part of the game. We have to say that.
Well, that's a lifestyle we are coming into, and it definitely is working for the money makers and not the health makers.
Mm-hmm. I suppose it's good. It's good. The lifestyle is good. People are happier. Modern lifestyle, modern things. The world is expanding, but on the same token, we should also be taking experiences from gentlemen like you, who's 83 and who's in mid 70s or early 70s or early 60s. He looks younger, though. So we have to take examples, and then we need to put into practice as to what it is going to be. I think the next 10 years is going to be really bad. That's what my worry is. The next 10 years is going to be really bad for Fiji if people do not get hold of this.
Well, that is absolutely correct. The awareness is a word that is used very lightly.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are going to have diabetes, and it's going to be there, it's very high right now. And one of the problems that we're going to be coming up with is this diabetic retinopathy that we see. Now, the kidney problems and the eyes are going to be affected. Now, so in very layered terms, your kidney problems and your blindness. So diabetes can and does lead to these two things. And these two things are devastating when you think about the cost of being blind, not only in terms of money, but in terms of the lifestyle, quality, things like that, and the loss of productivity.
Us being here in overseas, we have access to dialysis. We have access to a top-notch medical system. But unfortunately, in Fiji, they have a diabetes machine, but everybody doesn't have access to it. You got to pay for it because the chemicals once again cost money. And the money, I think yes. And if you are diabetic, if your kidney is gone, you need to be on dialysis 3 times a week.
Yes, and it costs about $200 to $250 every session. So 3 sessions a week. You got $600 or $750.
Wow.
Who can afford that? There's no insurance there. We are lucky. I'm in America right now, and it's going to be paid for by my insurance company.
Yes.
But in Fiji, only those. And I'll tell you one more interesting point. This is something that I know of. I was there. I saw it. I was involved with the Kidney Foundation in Fiji as well. Now, there were people or the families that had to sell their homes so that they could afford the dialysis for their aging parent who didn't survive anything. They would die anyway. And when they died, the house also was gone.
So trying to keep alive.
Yeah.
And the basic principle of any medicine is prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
So here are some of the complications that can arise from being diabetic, or thus back and forth, hypertension, liver.
We are addressing what Uncle started with the obesity, the BMI. And if you see through this particular chart, just how many things this one thing affects.
Mood
so
disorder.
If we, common sense or logically, we could say, if we address obesity, we could make a difference in all the other things that are going to be caused by that. And diabetes is one huge part of it.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Hmm.
I agree. One area that says hypertension or blood pressure, high blood pressure. The other
Hmm.
one is cardiovascular disease, the
Yes,
coronary artery disease. And in
big
that
time.
regard, when you look at the fat, VLDL, very low
Mm.
density lipoprotein, and
Hmm.
which turns to HDL, high density lipoprotein.
Mm.
So when you look at the fat, and my last comment was going to be about how do you manage that. The coronary artery disease is very common, in Fiji and even in US. But that graph that you showed about obesity, very very important, and a lot of things are about the fat contents like triglyceride, cholesterol, and triglyceride. You mentioned adipose tissue last time we were talking about it,
Hmm.
and any type of fat that is around us, especially the belly fat, it's a serious situation,
Hmm.
and how do you manage it?
Hmm.
That chart was excellent about obesity and all these different organs get involved. Yeah, look
Now,
at that.
gentlemen, tell me something. In Fiji, is an average or our average population, are they overweight in Fiji? I know in America they are, and I know.
Yes,
So tell
yes.
me, in Fiji, are people overweight? Average
I
population
can I can tell you
from your
about
studies.
the report that we compiled at Smart Labs. In the
Hmm.
first year of
Hmm.
operations, we were out there screening asymptomatic people to
Hmm.
identify the risks that they may be carrying.
Hmm.
And the tests we were doing were temperature, blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol,
Hmm.
and BMI. These
Hmm.
were the 5 points that we were doing. And
And what
anything that was
population?
out of whack, we
What
would
population?
request, we would actually advise the people, here's your report, please consult a doctor, go to a
Hmm.
clinic, go to a
Hmm.
health office, or do something. And it needed to be done. Now, the reports that we did, we sent a copy of those things to the NCD office at the MOH, the
Hmm.
Ministry of Health, as well as the WHO office in Suva,
Hmm.
because they were involved in this thing quite a bit. And whatever data that I was able to garner from my research and
Hmm.
my screenings, I shared with them for their papers.
Hmm.
And the first year showed that the biggest problem we had with close to 1,700 people that we did was obesity.
Hmm.
We identified obesity as the bigger problem.
So this is which population are we talking about? Are we talking about Fijians, native Fijians, or Indians as well, or is it a mixture of 50-50
Well,
balance?
mixture, and I would say that 25% would have been the indigenous Taukais and
Hmm.
75% of our own people.
Indians, you mean? Are they overweight?
Yes. Oh,
Wow.
yes. Okay. Don't forget, we don't show it that easy because we are short.
And what age group did you look at?
Okay, as for age, the problems were between 35 and 55. That's
Okay.
where most of the issues were.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
this is I'd like to bring, or rather, refer to what Uncle said earlier on.
Hmm.
When we were screening, there were many a times when we found that people had extremely high blood sugars and
Hmm.
extremely high blood pressures. And we asked them, were you on medication? Have you seen a doctor? Yes, the doctor gave
Hmm.
us medication. We took the medication and it was okay, so we stopped taking the medication.
Hmm.
I
So
think that's a bigger
herein
problem.
lies a basic problem of awareness that the doctors would prescribe the medication, and whether there is a problem in communication or some misunderstanding, that these
Absolutely.
medications are maintenance medications and they would stay with them for life, and not just because it's going to go down,
Hmm.
you stop taking it. And maybe that's what explains the sudden strokes and the heart attacks and all those things we see in Fiji between for people aged between 35 and 55, which is the most productive years. So just imagine the amount of productivity loss that Fiji is suffering.
Interesting, interesting. Because if I look at the general population, I don't know. I probably never thought that people were majority or 75% people were overweight. But look, if you look at it, that probably they are overweight. We just we don't think about it. But why are they overweight is a question, and why is such a high rate of diabetes in Fiji is a question as well.
Same reason.
Bearing in mind,
Food
they don't have any
and
machines
lifestyle.
much.
Sedentary lifestyle, smoking, sitting down on the grog table, with the for 4 hours, 5 hours, and if they did not have to pee, they would even get up and walk.
So in Fiji, as we know, the medical system is not up to the top notch when you require all this information, like dialysis and medications and all those things that we require. Now, the obvious reason when you talk to anybody is, what happened? I've got diabetes. What happened? My toes got chopped up. So let's talk about why toe is the most important thing, or our feet is the most important thing in diabetes.
It is very
They don't chop
interesting.
fingers. They don't chop fingers. They'll chop the feet.
That's right. It's the feet.
Yeah.
Whenever we found anyone who had just a high glucose, if that glucose was above 150, I always check their feet. And we used the old pencil to see if they could feel. And I
Senses.
was surprised and really shocked at the number of people that went numb on their feet. And these are the people that would pick up bacteria because there will be a cut or something, and it will get infected and get into gangrene and lead to amputation. And the last I know of, we were averaging about 3 or 4 amputations a day in Fiji.
Wow.
Now that's a very high number.
It is.
And they used to have the big sign in front of the CWM hospital that used to say how many amputations they did, and they took it off.
So the scare tactic didn't work.
It's called
it doesn't work.
PVD, right? Peripheral vascular disease. And very simple, actually. I'm reminded every year on my annual physical for the primary care doctor to check my feet by just poking, did you feel that? Did you feel that? Simple thing like that, that is not done, I don't think, because these are all peripheral vascular disease, like you earlier said about gangrene. You have to amputate. But I'm reminded, is it because diabetes, or is it gout, or is it something else? It raises that question, and it's up to the primary care physician to be able to make the proper diagnosis. I had made a note here on treatment for all type of diabetes. The first thing was healthy eating. And there is no special diet. However, focus on fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, cut down on saturated fats. The bottom line, but who is there to explain what is saturated fats versus the other things? And the physical activity. I did farming and I weighed only 120 pounds when I arrived in this country in 1957 at the age of 17. And it was because of farming, and it's all manual labor. So when we talk about Fiji's situation, how many people living in villages have diabetes, or, there is an epidemiological study or not? I don't know. Ashok,
Well, let's.
Sorry.
do you know about the folks in the city versus outside of the city life?
Urban
Did you get
versus rural.
Well, I'll tell
rural?
you what. Good question. If you walk
Well,
around and you won't see people out working on the farms. If you drive from Singatoka to Bar, you will see farms, but you won't
mm-hmm.
see too many people working out there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you will see them driving and working in towns and cities. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so their lifestyle has changed, and that active lifestyle has not been replaced at all,
Mm-hmm.
and it's due to, let's say, it's a casualty of modernization,
Mm-hmm.
where things have become modern. We have cell phones to call people. We don't have to walk up to them, and we drive in cars, and we get to the parking lot of the supermarket. We don't even walk much, except through the markets and all. So all these things has made an effect, or has had an effect on our lifestyle, and because that lifestyle has changed, our diet has changed. Our
Mm-hmm.
diet has changed into more convenience foods, which is quick. Now
And high
there
in
are
sugar.
young couples who are both working. So for them, it is easier to take a processed food or a fast food because they
Mm-hmm.
don't have time. Okay, so these things are all contributing to the health issues, and particularly diabetes in Fiji.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no light at the end of this tunnel that I can see.
Now let's talk a little bit about the complications of diabetes. We know diabetes is very prevalent in Fiji, and I think it's very hard hitting to let them know what are the complications, and if they can then basically decide and say, okay, am I going to lose my toes? Am I going to lose my kidney? Or am I going to lose my eyes? So, what are the complications of diabetes, gentlemen?
Dr.
Go
Jay?
ahead. No, go ahead. It's about Fiji.
No. Okay. Well, they say diabetes does not kill, but diabetes creates situations that will kill.
Mm-hmm.
For example, our kidneys, our cardiovascular issues,
Mm-hmm.
and our going blind. These are the three main casualties of diabetes. And if we see in Fiji how much or how prevalent these things are, it is said. But we have to, like I said earlier, if we do not wake up, and we do not take some stern and decided action to combat this, I
Mm-hmm.
think Fiji will have hell to pay, just like all the other industrialized countries as well. Because what is true for Fiji is also true for US, Canada, Australia, everywhere else. It's always convenience, convenience, convenience. We have convenience stores and
Mm-hmm.
fast food joints springing up overnight everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Why? We drive into the windows now. We don't even walk into the restaurant, you know. So there is all these things are taking and are going to take a huge toll. And when are the people going to wake up and say that, listen, I am responsible for my health and that I should act? Unfortunately, we don't. We just follow.
Yes, and in Fiji, if you are in a very healthy state, and if you're not looking after yourself, healthy state is one thing, but not looking after yourself, meaning if you're indulging yourself with a lot of complex food, which
Mhm.
causes diabetes, which means loss of limb, blindness,
Mhm.
loss of kidney. There's not a repair shop in Fiji or any other country that will repair your eyes or repair your kidney, your pancreas. It means that you need new parts of your body. And modern medication and modern interventions and traditions and studies have shown that yes, you can transplant pancreas, we can transplant kidney, we can transplant eyes. To some extent, we can probably transplant your limb, but who wants a limb? They'll have a prosthetic. So once you lose your kidney, somebody you'll in the waiting list and you'll probably get kidney. But before someone gives you a kidney, it's a detrimental stage. That stage that a person would go through, it's really bad.
Very serious. Very, very serious.
It is very serious. In a modern country like Australia, New Zealand, US, we've got dialysis machines. It doesn't cost us. Covered by Medicare and insurance companies in states, and it's covered by Medicare here. But my question today is, gentlemen, in Fiji, who covers for that? Who covers for the diabetes machines? The medications are fine, but the diabetes machines and the loss of eye, the loss of kidney. There's no kidney transplant. There's no heart transplant in Fiji, I believe.
Yeah, well, no.
No.
Okay, you have the diabetic Fiji that is doing its job, but it's very underfunded. The CWM hospital or the Ministry of Health is underfunded in the NCD's department, and what else I was thinking about? Something that I thought of just went out of my head. But these are the things. Fiji is what you'd call a low resource country. Our resources are limited and our problems are bigger and getting bigger. So how are we going to combat this? We have to just wake up, suddenly shake ourselves. And who's going to do that? The government?
No.
The Diabetic Association?
No.
The health officers? They can only say so much. They don't have time and they don't have the resources.
Yes.
But basically, for example, if we are going to do, let me give you a scenario here, very dangerous scenario for a lot of people. If the government of Fiji would say, okay, we have these laws on covering nutrition on our books. So we have the laws. And now suddenly they decide to implement the laws. And start saying, okay, if this food item coming from China, Australia, New Zealand, wherever, does not meet our nutrition criteria as per our laws, it is not going to be allowed in. So anything that is being allowed into the country has to meet that particular benchmark. It must meet with the country's laws on nutrition. Unfortunately, it is almost impossible because I brought that particular point up with my meetings in Fiji with officials in government and private sector. Again, you know what beats it? The commercial interest, the business interest. I was told that, we can't do these things because we have a trade agreement. And I asked in return whether a trade agreement would supersede the laws of a country. I don't think so.
True.
But the way things are, and this is a weakness in our official policy. If nutrition is what is causing the biggest problem, let's target it and let's decide this is the things we need in Fiji, nutritious food. And anything that is not nutritious, anything that does not meet the requirements or our laws should not be allowed. Should be banned. Smoking should be banned, for God's sake.
But if you look at it, Ashokji, the majority of the food is available in Fiji. Organic as well. You got fisheries, you got plants, you got fruits, you got so many wonderful foods which are available already. So we cannot police how much food a person would eat. We can police on the quantity or quality of the food that's coming to the country. But we
Quality.
cannot police. We cannot police on how much roti a person would eat, or how much rice a person would eat, or how many cans of Coke, or how many spoons of sugar a person would take in a tea. Now, both you being diabetic, could you share with me your breakfast? Like, what time is your breakfast, and what do you have for breakfast, Uncle Jay?
Yeah, we've recently changed our eating habit.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we no longer
Is
consider
this after
breakfast.
80 years? 60?
No, it's actually we eat around 10 o'clock for breakfast,
Okay.
and breakfast includes maybe cereal. This morning was cereal, and it's a keto product, no sugar,
Mm.
and unfortunately didn't have the regular milk. Like you said, the milk, and I looked at the
Sugar.
items. 16 grams of sugar is too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife and I, we go shopping at Costco and we buy a special meat kind of package. And so basically that's 10 o'clock. And then I have some nuts, walnut, peanut, and almond until dinner time, which is 5:36. And dinner is always has some meat and some carbohydrate, but not too much. I prefer eating a lot of fruit. I have cantaloupe, pineapple, and I cut back on banana because it has 15 grams of sugar. But so I take half of that.
So, Uncle
Uh,
Jay, tell me, why do you have dinner?
that's our main meal of the day, actually, and
Okay.
as long as you eat around 5:30, I think it's okay. And I don't go to bed until 9:30, 10.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to actually. You
Okay.
can cut
Thank
back on
you.
that too.
Thank you.
But
Thank you. Thank you. Because if you
and,
look at it
and
from midday till 5:30,
yeah,
5:30, as you would say,
yeah.
5:30, your meal is. You that is the time that you would be using your energy the most compared to like
Yeah,
after dinner.
and I do like I cut back on my golf, which I used to enjoy playing, and I cut back
Mm-hmm.
on my 24 fitness club where I do treadmill and weightlifting and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to burn as much as I can, use up by expending energy to burn the sugar that is in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding again, I'm going to bring my sugar down to between 70 and 100. And it's a
So
challenge, but
once again, the challenge is: do you need dinner? To a gentleman like you, do you need dinner?
probably not.
Okay.
What time do you eat dinner? It's like people eat around 6:30 or
Well, that's what I'm coming to. Why does a person need dinner?
You do need a dinner. Come on.
I think
I'll
it's
tell you something. The most
I think it's
important thing is
habit. It's habit.
what,
Exactly. Exactly.
what, what, how much, the portion, and what we pick. And of course, if we keep a regular amount all throughout the day, then the energy level is going to be fairly straight. If you're going to vary it or miss the meals, your energy is going to be up and down. You don't want that. You want your energy level to be basically horizontal. So I'll give you what I used to do. I still do. Is Weetabix.
Mm-hmm.
Two Weetabix with peanut butter on it, and I would
So there are
cut.
about 40 grams of carbs in there, isn't it? 20 grams of carb per biscuit.
True. And there's a complex carb. It's a good carb, and then I'd take coffee. Now, if I had a boiled egg, I'm sorry, I should always. I used to be very famous. I like the boiled eggs with that, and Right now, since my other health issues have dropped my appetite, I am not able to
Mm-hmm.
eat as much. But when I was, make sure that I had all the three meals, or
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes four meals. But they were always small portions,
Mm-hmm.
always small portions. And the smaller portions did very, very well for me. And I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you one interesting thing, Pram. In my arms, I mean, in my hands, this is the measurement for me, for my start,
Rice.
for my rice, for my roti. This is it.
Okay.
You fill up all the other stuff, but this is much. This is as much as what you take. And I used to love Fiji rice, and
Rice
Fiji
and
rice
rice with
was
dal
the
bhat
best
and
for
chutney
me.
and lamb curry.
I did
Ooh,
not
yum.
get a spike. I did not get a
Lamb
spike
curry.
with Fiji rice. Explain that.
You know, rice, that much rice with the fried fish or fish cooked in fish lolo with casera and dalo, you name it. It is so wonderful. Isn't it wonderful for dinner? It sounds
Absolutely.
so amazing to have dinner like that, isn't it? Fry casera when it rains, or fry
Oh,
dalo when it rains, or a gulgula when it's not it's a cold.
oh, right now
Oh,
is Diwali
halwa.
time.
Oh,
So you've got
halwa.
all these things coming.
Oh, yeah, I'll be demolishing a lot of barfis in Diwali time. But the question is, once again, do we need dinner?
Yes.
When we come home, do we need dinner? The amount of energy a person or a normal person requires is approximately about 2000 kilojoules per day. So, how much are we actually eating? As someone has said, Anand Muni has said, we are creatures of habit. It's a wonderful say, wonderfully, nicely he's put it there. We are creatures of habit. So, if you look at it in a lame term, diabetes is habit. If you're
Actually,
unfortunate,
it's a good question, and I'm going to try to find an answer for that. Why do
why
we
do we
need
need
to
dinner?
eat dinner? One of the
Yes,
things that is very significant, though, while you are sleeping, your body is metabolizing. In other
yes.
words, it's breaking down all the nutrients, and one of the
All
things
the
it breaks
toxins that
down
you've taken in the
quite
daytime.
a bit is sugar. It's breaking down your sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And when I changed the blood pressure medication, actually changed by Dr. Cow, a
Mm.
nephrologist, he instead of giving me the bigger dose in the morning, he said, "No, let's take
Mm-hmm.
this in the AM and let's take this." And it made a lot of sense. Why? Because now you're covering for 12 hours rather than 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of medicine people take is in AM rather
Mm-hmm.
than AM PM. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good question, but if you want to break down the food, a lot of food is broken down while you are sleeping.
Uh,
But
you know, I
my wife is the one that cooks, so I have to talk to.
You've got an excuse there. It's a habit. It's a lifestyle. It's a habit, and from many years, yesteryears, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is usually a big portion. And
Yeah.
and with this current world and style and standards, everybody's going out for dinner. It's become a tradition. You go
Hmm.
out with friends for drinks, so dinner is served late. Weekend is partying and socializing. So the social world of everybody has taken by storm. Don't get me wrong, I still love the barfis and the halwas and the fried alus. I love them. I'll
in
crush them anytime.
in moderation.
I don't even think of that. I must confess, I don't even eat in moderation. When I love them, I eat them. But then again, the question is, I feel guilty after that.
Mhm.
It's habit, but
So,
I feel guilty after that. So I would try
so
to
the question
compensate.
is control.
Exactly.
Control. Are we going to
Exactly.
control it?
Are we going to
Control
control it?
what? Yeah. Even if it's jalebi, I'll break it down and I have a small piece. So
But you'll
I
still
have
have it.
I've got the taste good enough. So my control says enough. I'm not going to
Okay.
go anymore. The
Yeah.
barfi, I can eat one quarter of the barfi and say, hey, I tasted the barfi. It's
Hmm.
wonderful. I'll eat
Hmm.
one gojia. I love that. And things like that. So if we are able to control ourselves,
Hmm.
interestingly, I had a nutritionist once say, let's flip the table, flip the chart. I said, what do you mean flip the chart? And she says, have your dinner as your breakfast and
Or
your
lunch. Or
breakfast
lunch for that
as your
matter.
dinner.
True,
And I
true.
said, why? And she says, look, when you eat in the morning, you got all day to be doing your things. You're moving around, doing other things. And in the night, you really don't need all that energy. So you take lighter stuff. I thought that made a lot of sense.
Of course. It does make sense. Of course, that's what I said. Why do people eat dinner? Those who are construction workers, those who are mechanics or hardworking, where a lot of energy is required, they may be coming home late. Those who are Fiji lifestyle are grog. After grog, they will have a session of grog. They'll have a late dinner, and usually it's to do
And
with
then go to
rice.
sleep.
And then you
Well,
go to
they
sleep.
eat like 10 o'clock. It's too late.
Yes, and then you go to sleep. So rice is a portion. Yes, everybody loves
Very important.
rice with lots
Very,
of
very
curries.
important. The portion
And
is very important.
And
And I'll tell
unfortunately,
you
we are
something else.
trained.
If you control your portion, it'll be hard first day, hard second day, even harder the third day. But after the fourth day, you are getting into swing of things, and your
You're used
body
to
is
it.
getting used to getting only that much food. You will stop craving, and soon that will become a habit.
So my question to you both, once again, another question is, should you eat for your body or should you eat for yourself?
Interestingly, well, I'll answer it this way.
Should you eat for
Either
yourself or
you
should you
eat
eat
to
for your
live,
body?
either you eat to live
Yep.
or live to eat.
Yes.
I,
When you say eat to live, then people will say, one day I'll have to die anyway, so I'll eat to live.
Yes, yes, yes. I came across that a lot. People say, अब हम कौन ची खाई
कुछ तो
सब कुछ
बचा नहीं
बंद
है.
करता कौन ची
Nothing
खाई
is
हम
left.
लोग काम
Yes, of
करता
course.
खाई खाती
So the question is, do you eat for your body, for your system, for your maintenance, for the structure of your body, for the transport system that we are carrying?
Yes.
Or should we eat for ourselves because we like that particular thing? It's sweet, it's nice, just the taste.
I think we should eat for our body. However, it's the type of food that you eat matters, and how the body
Metabolize.
metabolizes and breaks down the product in your gut makes a difference. And the reason is that you have organs, different part of the body that needs nutrition to do its job. And if you don't have the nutrition and the right kind of and right amount of chemicals, starting with the breaking down in the gut, with 10,000 or so the microorganisms that are breaking the food down. And earlier we talked about getting energy. How are you going to get energy if you don't have the right kind of food that is going to work for the kidney function, the heart function, the liver function? Liver is very, very important organ for storing uh, the different kinds of
Maintenance and
nutrition
cleaning.
that you have eaten. And ultimately, all of them get into the bloodstream, and it's very important to maintain it. And to actually, if you don't eat for your body, you're going to lose some very important organ that you no longer be able to be alive.
So I tell you what, fruits and vegetables and a very, very balanced diet and a nice diet is good for the body. A rice and chapati, 4 chapatis and a rice with lots of lamb curry tastes nice, that's for the self. Gulgula and halwa and barfi and jalebis are for the self.
Yes.
And,
None. You guys should not be having this today, okay? No halwa, no barfi for you guys today, okay? Diwali is coming up. Stay away from it. It's not for yourself.
I was at a puja, Hanuman Ji ke puja, at my niece's home in Hayward. And one of the things she did was to give me a box of gulab jamun, jalebi, and halwa, and barfi, and I brought it home. We don't eat it, so I took it to the Indian shop and I gave it to them. As soon as they saw, "Bahut dhanbad bhaiya."
Now, gentlemen, they should we give a little bit of a tip as to if you are eating, Diwali is coming, if you are eating a lot of sweets. Now, what dilutes glucose? Simple sugars. What dilutes it?
I don't know if there's anything that will dilute the sugar. You know,
What
we
about
have
water?
well, if we stick to moderation, if we stick to moderation, we have ourselves controlling, which means the mind is controlling and not the tongue. The tongue just loves the taste and is going to go for
So,
it. The mind should be the one that will be telling you, nope, only this much. And if we are going to be commonsensical about it, we can enjoy the foods that are around us and yet not have a detrimental effect. But unfortunately, our weakness for taste is so great that the control is out the window, and it's, oh, what the hell, I've got to die one day anyway, so I'm going to enjoy these jalebis and the burfis and all those things, bang, bang, bang. You know, what can I say? All I'm saying is, this is a Diwali time for our community, and they are all going to be doing these things. I urge all of them to please keep in mind that don't gorge yourself, enjoy it, but be in control. Don't let food control you. Do not let your taste, your tongue control you. You control your taste and you control your thing. And
It's difficult
anyway,
to do. It's difficult to do.
I
Difficult
know.
to.
I know.
well,
We have, it takes a lot of resolve.
yes. Well,
Yeah,
in
no,
a say,
of course, I don't get those things because, my wife is Greek and she doesn't make Indian sweets, and so we don't buy it. But anyway, I think substitute would be good. Instead of taking a whole gulab jamun, cut in pieces and eat like 5 days one gulab jamun instead of whole one day. In other words, don't load up. Take small pieces.
well, my saying is weakness leads to loss. If you are weak, it'll lose to loss. So if you are weak and you cannot resist the gulab jamun and the jalebis and the sweets and the barfis, like myself, and if you've got a trailing disease like diabetes in your family, or if you do have diabetes, then obviously there's a loss of kidney, there's a loss of organs. Main thing is, a weakness leads to loss,
You're
and
absolutely correct.
you don't want to lose your
Eh,
kidney.
Yeah, and, what Ashok you said earlier about the expenses, you lose your house.
Of course,
How do you cover? Fortunately,
loss of
I'm on
house,
Medicare.
loss of family. Yes, loss of family as well. People kick in. A lot of people when they discover they have diabetes, it's a psychological effect on the family or yourself. That I'm
Absolutely.
going through diabetes, and how are they going to undertake, or how are they going to counteract? Because the friends, your families and friends, or your group of friends that you hang around is also a peer
Yeah.
pressure that will actually, you need to get into it and say, look, do I need to be in this group which drinks every day,
We have to
or do I
become
need to be in
conscious.
groups that parties every day, for example, no? Or do I
Do
need to
do
be
you
in
do?
groups that go to the gym?
Then you're absolutely correct. We have to become conscious and accept our predicament. We are living in a dangerous time, and we should decide how to save ourselves from being blown up on the landmine that is all around us in terms of bad and unhealthy food.
Sorry, Uncle Jay, you were saying something.
No, again, it's very challenging, the lifestyle that we do. But I again, I look at my age and look at my family history, and look at the future. I'm very, very happy to say that I feel pretty good. And I think it's important to feel within yourself, your accomplishments or your association, and the mere fact that I left Fiji and able to do the kinds of things I was able to do here, I would be dead if I was still in Fiji. You know,
Well, look, it's a lovely place to live in, and people those are there
Oh, hey,
actually. It's a
Fiji,
lovely place.
My beloved Fiji.
Yeah, a lot of
yeah,
organic
no,
things
no,
are available.
but I actually am very concerned about the farmers in Fiji. Being a
Mm-hmm.
farmer myself, I mean, the land situation is very bad, and I drove in Megania, going to the airport. I go to
Mm-hmm.
beautiful land with sugarcane that used to be there. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
all grass. And
Mm-hmm.
the Itokis move in just because they want the house. They don't want your property,
Mm-hmm.
and they take over your home. And it's sad for farmers.
So, gentlemen, both of you, at the age of 35, roughly, you came across diabetes, and found out that you had diabetes. What would you have done if you knew in today's era, in living into today's era, if you're age of 35, like taking back 35 years ago, what would you have done differently?
First, if I had known that I was diabetic,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I got,
Or pre-diabetic, for that matter.
you know, uh, uh, well, we discovered that I had diabetes when I was 40 years old, but I'm pretty sure I have had it from before that. That's
Mm-hmm.
when the testing showed. If if I knew then what I know about it now, of course I'll be different
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I am able to withstand or control myself and control what I eat and how much I eat and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the sad part. And I have shared my stories with people here, my family and friends, as well as while I was in Fiji with Smart Labs and
Mm-hmm.
doing all the screenings and creating awareness. And I even used show and tell by taking the good rice and the bad rice and showing them what the complex sugars are coming from and where the simple sugars are coming from and how
Mm-hmm.
dangerous this one was and how good the other one was.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I still feel I have not done enough. And it is said that most of the people with whom I speak to on this subject do not share or identify with
Mm-hmm.
the problems that I have seen, I have suffered myself. And for them, like Anand said, they are all creatures of habit and they don't want to change. And until they change, they
Yes.
are asking for trouble.
Trouble.
And the worst thing is that we know where this path is taking us,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they will not listen and they will not act. If they acted, control themselves now, they have a wonderful life ahead of them, a healthy one with their families and everybody. And if they don't,
Mm-hmm.
then the fate is waiting for them.
And yourself, Uncle Jay, what would you have done?
I actually feel pretty good about being able to diagnose in a timely fashion
Mm-hmm.
because I was around the environment
Mm.
and I was in charge of the clinical laboratory where I could take a cup of urine and measure it and do the test properly and then be able to find a quality physician
Mm-hmm.
and follow the instruction. And I'm alive today, and I'm very happy that
And your kidney is
I did.
fine?
Was that?
Your kidney is doing fine?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's a compromise. I'm stage 3 instead of stage 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it's maintained. The maintenance is there. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
regular with my medicine, and I see the specialized docs that I need to see. A
Mm-hmm.
cardiologist, a rheumatologist, ophthalmologist, nephrologist, etc. So and we pay pretty heavy monthly dues for making sure that I have the control of the kind of doctor I want to go to, rather than being in the Kaiser system, for example, where you have to go to Kaiser doctors. Although I worked for Kaiser for 12 years, and I did my training with them. So these are the kinds of things that help me guide myself. And again, when I look at where I am compared to my brothers, very educated, one died in Germany, 57 years old,
Wow.
GI specialist. One died at 29 in Fiji after getting a law degree in New Zealand. And my brother
Mm.
Jay did very well. The Jay Narayan College, named after him, did well. And the reason he did well is because I was in the hospital environment and I brought him over and did
Mhm.
the colonoscopy and removed a few, and then also brought him over until his son became a doctor in Canberra, Australia,
Mm.
and had
Mhm.
the. But anyway, he lived to be 93. So
Wow.
being 83, I feel pretty good.
Mhm.
So
So if
I
I
don't think if I would have changed very much.
Mhm.
And
if I-
that's because of my environment.
Mhm. If I were to ask you what one thing or few things or whatever, uh, or a number of things that you would like to tell people as a takeaway tip, as both of you are in your, age lower, towards the end part of the age group. What are the things that you would suggest to people that are upcoming and who are just newly diagnosed with diabetes, especially type 2, which is prevalent in Fiji at a very high number, which is around about
I think
30%?
I think it's very important first to make sure that you have the appropriate diagnosis for diabetes, and then consult with the specialist. For example, a dietary. Nothing, no harm in going to someone who's specialized in helping you with the type of food you're going to eat, and
Mm-hmm.
to see a doctor that's going to give you the appropriate medication and help you understand that it is a lifetime kind of situation, and you need to manage it every day.
Mm-hmm. And yourself, Ashok, uncle?
Okay, my thing is prevention. Prevention is the cure was the motto of our Smart Lives Fiji.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the reason why we did that is because that is the cheapest health cost if we can prevent you. Now, if we were anyone who is 35 years old, you, whether you are or you are not, believe that you are diabetic and start adjusting your diet, your lifestyle, you will make a huge difference in your life by beating diabetes. It can be beaten. It can be beaten. It will not catch you. But if you carry on, then you are asking for trouble. So
So,
pretend like you are diabetic and act like it. So no sugar, no simple sugars. Okay, we do need glucose. Don't forget. Okay, glucose is the brain, food for the brain. If you don't have glucose in your brain, you're going to be brain fogged. But it's very important to know our limits. We are designed to eat so much, not that much. So much is the need, not the want.
not that much.
Unfortunately, we go in the wants and we get in trouble. So, if long story short, if we are going to aim for prevention,
Mm-hmm.
that I think is the cheapest and the best thing for
Mm-hmm.
us.
And what would you say to someone who always says, or someone says that, "अरे खाओ एक रस तुम्हारे के है."
You
एक
know
रस
what
तुम्हारे के.
I
It's a wonderful saying, but what would you say to that?
uh, I faced
I
that
have I have a saying,
quite
but let's hear you too.
quite a lot in Fiji,
Yes.
and I was asking them to, Acha, so you are to only you've been living just to eat, you've been earning just to eat, and yes, So I said, okay, so do you have a wife? Yes. Do you have children? Yes. And who's paying for them and paying for the school and everything else? So you are earning only to eat or look after them as well and look after yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that's when they get flabbergasted and they stop. And the adage or the analogy that I was using was, look, there's a king of the jungle who will only kill when he is hungry, and he'll only eat so much and leave the rest for his praja, all the
Colony.
hyenas and all the vultures and all those people.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of the coin is the pig, which will not stop eating
Mm-hmm.
because the pig only lives to eat and it continues to become. Now, yeah,
Yeah.
I leave it to you to decide. Are you
Okay.
going to be which of these animals as your favorite?
Okay. And Uncle Jay, what
I,
would you say? How
I would
Kristo
say,
Marike?
I would say the deniers are here, as you can see with the COVID-19 vaccine and mask wearing and so forth. And I would point out some of the disadvantage by having the condition, whatever it is, whether it's diabetes, it's cancer, or heart disease, or so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and try to convince to change the behavior so that you have a better life. You feel better,
Mm-hmm.
you feel happy, and get involved in some sport that is going to help you make friends and so forth. And if you don't buy it, then hell with you.
Well, my saying on that is that cow Kristo Marike. But my saying to that is cow, but don't die slowly. So,
All right,
cow, but don't die slowly. If you eat, you will die slowly.
moderation.
That's a proven fact, I think. And if you not eat, but you eat, which is not the way you're not supposed to eat, or what's not required for your body, it's required for yourself. So if you eat to die, you'll die slowly. And the slow death is the painful death, isn't it? You both
Yes.
have
It
to
is.
agree with me.
Yeah, it is. It
And
is.
if you've lost your
Probably better
kidney,
way to.
if you've lost
Probably
your
better
kidney,
way
then
to
you will
say.
wait for a kidney transplant. If you've lost your eyesight, you hopefully someone will donate your eye. That is, if you're in Fiji, forget about eye transplant. You have to sell your houses. Even if the house is $150,000, it will probably not be able to sustain the cost in Australia for an eye surgery or a kidney surgery for that matter. You'll have to go to India for that. That also has no guarantee it'll work. Loss of limb is also very prevalent in Fiji. That you are retired, there is no income, so loss of income straight away. So, there's a few things in the awareness we need to create, and I hope that someone would take something out of this today's session. Eat for the body, not for the self, but don't die slowly.
Yes.
Okay, I'll follow the rule.
And also the question I've got for you, Jankal, is why do you have dinner?
I can't answer the question.
Well, so when today you'll be eating dinner and you look at the clock and you'll say, okay, how
I
much am
think
I eating? How much energy?
no, Param, one of the things is the reason I have it because my wife needs my company.
Okay, okay. That's good. That's good. Good company. Yes, but once again, you too. Thank you very much. And closing sentence or closing gestures or points that you would like to make on this such a vast topic.
I want to implore on everybody who is listening, please become aware, get serious. You only have your life to lose.
I my thing is, I have a lovely family. My two kids doing well, my grandkids doing well, and wife and I have been together for 60 plus years. And I'm writing a book so that I can finish that in timely fashion and publish it so there is something left behind for my family and my generations to be. And
Mm-hmm.
with God's help and friends and family's support, I've done well, and I'm very happy. And you're welcome to visit my home anytime, Param, in
Thank you.
Hillsboro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very, very close to San Francisco Airport. Live in a very nice area called Hillsboro. Ashok knows. And so I'm just very happy with life, and I'm very happy that I'm still alive.
Hmm. Well, it's been wonderful, and I think we've covered enough and given some information to people out there, especially in Fiji and across the globe. If you're watching this program, that diabetes is not a simple disease; it's a disease of simple sugars. And if you think of simple sugars, then diabetes is your friend. And if you do have diabetes, if you are going through that, then please do take care. And as Jay Uncle, he's 83 now, still going strong, and still having a stage 3 kidney, which is pretty good. And all we can say is, it's not a very good disease to be with.
No.
It's a loss of family, loss of income, loss of, lots of things in life to see. And at some stages, you would probably like to say, okay, I'm done with life. But don't die slowly.
True.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anything else you would like to say before we sign off?
Is anybody that's listening?
I've certainly given you some tips to take home today, isn't I? Haven't I? A food for thought I've given some.
Anybody that needs help, be willing to support them in any way I can.
Sure.
Thank you.
And we're always here. And look,
Thank
thank you very
Param.
much. Yes, of course.
I just say thank you, Param, for bringing a subject like these as a discussion. And we haven't solved the problem for diabetes, but hopefully we have made some people think. And if we have made some people think and take stock of what they are doing, how they are doing, then I think we have succeeded in your motivation for doing what you are doing. And I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And yes, gentlemen, keep away from rice and chapati and pasta and jalebi. Keep away from that for now, considering both of you are in type 2. But and keep away from all the complex food in life. Life is about enjoying, and the way to enjoy life is the way to enjoy life is live for the eat for your body.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time, and in due course we'll touch base again, and hopefully something different in life as we talk about, and hopefully we'll pick up another topic that will be probably to do with the heart disease, which is very prevalent in the months to come. We can talk about heart. In Indian they say dil, and how it beats, why it beats, what's needed for it to beat, and what stops it from beating.
That'll be fascinating.
That'll be fascinating. So I hope both of you would do some sort of a little research as you always do. And thank you so much for your time and effort, for taking out your time. And this video will be...
One of my brothers actually had a heart transplant at Stanford in the 70s. He had it twice, so I'm very familiar with the significance and importance of heartbeat.
Wonderful, gentlemen. Take care, stay safe, and all the best with your kidneys. Get the beans going, keep the beans happy. The beans happy, keep them red.
Thank you.
And get the toxins out, and I'll talk to you again, okay?
Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.